Stop treating direct response copywriting like a creative writing exercise. That is the single biggest mistake marketers make, and it is why their advertorials flop while Apple walked away with billions using the exact same framework. In the next 7 minutes, I am going to break down the Get a Mac campaign, structure that ran for 66 ads, and the one psychological switch that made Microsoft look like the villain. Pay attention, because the same switch is sitting in your offer right now. Why are we still studying an Apple campaign that ran between 2006 and 2009? Because direct response copywriting is the most misunderstood discipline in marketing, and the practitioners who master it do not just write words, they move markets. The Get a Mac framework has generated billions in sales across every industry and every economic climate. It works because it respects how people actually make decisions, not because the copywriter was clever. That distinction is everything. Apple launched Get a Mac in 2006 and ran it for 3 straight years, producing 66 separate commercials featuring John Hodgman as PC and Justin Long as Mac. The campaign fundamentally shifted how consumers saw the PC versus Mac debate, and it did so using copywriting structures that direct response marketers still steal today. 66 ads, 1 positioning angle, billions in brand equity. Let that sink in. Every legendary copywriting framework emerged from a specific moment when a practitioner needed to solve a real problem. The Get a Mac style of positioning was born in the print advertising era, when a single headline and illustration had to stop a reader mid-flip, make them read 3 paragraphs of body copy, and drive them to mail a check. That pressure forged frameworks designed to do one job: convert strangers into buyers. Understanding the origin tells you exactly where the framework performs best. The first structural pillar of the Get a Mac framework is what the greats call meeting the reader exactly where they are, in their current pain or awareness state. Apple did not start with specs or gigahertz. They started with frustration, confusion, and the creeping suspicion that their PC was working against them. Every advertorial built on this framework opens inside the reader's existing emotional reality. If your copy does not do that, you are shouting into a void. Here is the psychological foundation most people get backwards. Emotion moves people to action. Logic validates the decision. Apple knew this. The Get a Mac ads always opened with an emotional jab: viruses, crashes, confusing error messages, and only later let the Mac character explain why things were easier. Your advertorial must do the same. If you lead with features and specs, you are asking the reader to feel nothing, and feeling nothing means buying nothing. Now to the move that made Apple billions, the villain move. By casting Microsoft as the bumbling, virus-ridden PC played by John Hodgman, Apple did not just position a product, they positioned an enemy. Direct response copy lives and dies on contrast. You versus the alternative. The Get a Mac framework forces you to name the villain clearly, the old way, the broken system, the status quo, and then position your offer as the relief. No villain, no tension, no sale. Let us break down the actual structure Apple used across those 66 ads. Hook into pain point. Introduce the villain or broken alternative. Present the better option with one clear differentiator. Stack 3 quick proof points. Close with a simple, repeatable call to action. That is it. 5 moves. The same 5 moves that show up in every high-converting advertorial on Advertorial Wizard. Complexity kills conversion. Apple proved it in 2006, and it is still true in 2026. Why did the villain move work so brutally well on Microsoft specifically? Because the market already believed PC was the painful option. Apple did not invent the frustration, they inherited it. Windows users were already living with crashes, bloatware, and security warnings. The Get a Mac ads simply gave that frustration a face, a voice, and a punchline. The lesson for your advertorial is this: pick a villain your reader already resents. Do not invent enemies. Find the one they hate and reflect him back. Here is a copywriting detail most people miss. The Get a Mac ads use dialogue, not monologue. PC and Mac talk to each other and to the camera like a real conversation. Direct response copy should feel the same way. Write it like you are talking to one specific person about one specific problem. Not lecturing, not selling, conversing. Apple turned a product comparison into a sitcom, and that is why people remember the ads years after the campaign ended. 66 ads over 3 years. That was not a campaign, that was a siege. Apple understood that one message repeated consistently beats 10 clever messages rotated weekly. Most advertisers abandon a framework after 2 or 3 ads because they get bored. The Get a Mac team stayed disciplined. If you want this framework to work for you, pick the angle, lock the structure, and repeat it until the market cannot forget you. Now let us adapt the Get a Mac framework to a long-form advertorial. The headline is your TV hook. It has to stop the scroll. The first paragraph is your opening scene. It has to name the pain. The middle is your dialogue between PC and Mac, the back and forth where you expose the villain and lift up the better option. The close is your call to action. Same 5 moves, longer canvas. The framework does not change because the medium changed. The same Get a Mac structure crushes it in email sequences. Email 1 delivers the pain and introduces the villain. Email 2 shows the better option and stacks proof. Email 3 handles objections with logic. Email 4 closes with the offer. That is a 4 email sequence built directly from the campaign's DNA. If you are running a nurture funnel right now, restructure it using these moves and watch your click rates climb. Facebook ads and landing pages are just shorter versions of the same script. Your ad creative is the hook, your ad copy is the pain and villain, your landing page headline restates the better option, and your button is the call to action. Apple compressed this into 30 seconds. You can compress it into our 125-character primary text. The framework is scale invariant. Whether you have 30 seconds or 30 minutes, the bones are identical. Here is the number one mistake that causes most practitioners to apply the Get a Mac framework incorrectly. They skip the villain. They write copy that goes straight from pain to product without ever naming the broken alternative. Without a villain, there is no contrast, and without contrast, there is no reason to switch. Your reader does not just need to feel pain, they need to blame something for that pain. That is the entire engine of the Get a Mac campaign. Skip it and your copy falls flat. Mistake number 2 is weak hooks. Apple spent millions testing their opening lines, and every Get a Mac ad opened with conflict, humor, or a sharp observation. If your advertorial opens with "in today's fast-paced world, you have already lost." The first sentence has to either name a specific pain, drop a specific number, or challenge a specific belief. The hook decides whether the next 30 seconds of your video even exists. Mistake number 3 is leading with logic instead of emotion. Specs, features, technical details, percentages. Apple almost never open with the spec sheet. They open with how the product made you feel. Your advertorial must do the same. Hit the emotional nerve first, then bring the logic in to justify the action the emotion already demanded. Reverse the order, and you are writing a brochure, not a sales letter. Here is where Advertorial Wizard comes in. The platform applies the Get a Mac framework automatically, generating complete copy in minutes using the exact 5-move structure we just covered. Hook, pain, villain, bet option, proof, call to action. You feed it your product, your audience, your offer, and the engine outputs advertorials, emails, and ad creative built on the same bones that moved markets for Apple between 2006 and 2009. You bring the offer, the framework does the heavy lifting.